So now we're going to talk about maintaining your machine. And I already mentioned about changing your needle regularly, but you also want to clean lint out from here. What causes the lint is two things: the interaction of the two threads, top and bottom, as they're making stitches, but the main thing that causes lint is the feed dogs. As it's pulling along your fabric, it's pulling off little bits of fabric and that gets into your machine. That should be cleaned out on a regular basis. Okay, so when you go to unthread your machine, snip your thread up here, pull the excess thread out this way, and take out your bobbin this way. Now we have the machine unthreaded. The next thing we want to do is, I'm going to put this cover back on here, is we want to take out the needle and take the foot off. Because of, for safety concerns, we want to make sure that we're not going to accidentally press on the pedal. Let's go ahead and turn off the machine, take the foot off, and using our little screwdriver, we can unscrew the needle clamp, take the needle straight down. Now, for purposes of being able to see what we're doing, I'm going to go ahead and keep this on. That way you can see a little bit better. Also, now there's no needle in the way, so even if the kitty cat did come along and sit on the foot control, you're not as likely to hurt yourself without the needle in the way. Now, where you put your needle is important. Don't just lay it on the table, put it in a pin cushion or something where you're not going to lose track of it. Okay, so we have the foot out of the way, we have the bobbin out of there. Now we need to take the needle plate off. So I'm going to use that little short screwdriver we were just talking about. And once you have the screw up high enough, you can just take it out with your fingers. Again, these screws are short. I'm going to put it in my little sewing basket to keep it from rolling away. And let me take out the other screw and take that out of there. All right, that's out of there, and the needle plate just lifts right off. If you need to, you can press up that presser lever a little higher to get that out of the way, and it comes right off. Okay, so in the accessories, I didn't find a brush. I would really recommend getting a brush like this. It's really handy to have. It's nice and small, plus it has a needle inserter, which I'll show you again in a couple minutes how to use that. But first of all, we want to take the bobbin case out. This is the bobbin case. You want to brush that off, brush it all sides, clean it really good. And then go in here and clean out any little bits of thread that you might see. Clean in the feed dogs. This is especially important if you've sewn anything fuzzy like flannel or batting. Bits of thread can get caught in there, or bits of fabric and fuzz and stuff. So you want to clean out there really good. Now, as far as the anatomy of the machine, there's this hook. You can see it right there. That's what pulls the thread, the top thread, around the bobbin and forms the stitch. Again, we're going to stop with it at the neutral position with the take-up lever all the way at the top. Once you have this cleaned, you need to put it back together. This little knob needs to be to the left of the little stopper here, and this needs to sit right on the rim, the metal rim. So we're going to scoop it underneath the feed dogs, put it flat down in there. Make sure it's sitting right on that rim, not cockeyed. It's got to be right flat. So kind of test it by rocking it back and forth a little bit. Make sure that knob is right next to that stopper. Then we put it back together. And you know you're putting it together right if you can see these numbers upright. That's not upright, and besides it probably wouldn't fit in there anyway. So we put this right back in there. Again, I'm using the presser lifter to lift it a little higher to help that get back down there. Put the screws back in. And again, I'm doing it This is something, again, you can do more frequently than you need, and you'll get an idea after a while how long you can go before, and it really is going to depend on how much you've been sewing, what kind of things that you've been sewing, whether it's very fuzzy fabric or a very smooth fabric. Like if you sewed lining, you probably wouldn't get nearly as much fuzz happening as you would if you were sewing something fuzzy. Okay, so that's back on there. Now we need to put the foot back on. I like to hold my presser foot front and back this way, line up the hole in the presser foot with the hole in the needle plate, lower the presser foot, and it's right on there. Now, we're going to turn the machine off in order to put the needle back in. Here's my needle. The needle has a flat side. That flat side you want to have facing away from you, towards the back of the machine. On my little brush, and these are available here at Montavilla, I have a needle inserter. Now we want to put the needle in so that it's going through the wide hole, not the narrow hole, because that's going to take into account the taper on the needle. It's going to sit right in there like that. Make sure that it's facing the end of the brush like this, the flat side, so it's straight away from me. I'm giving a good little shove into there to make sure it stays put, and giving myself a little extra room by putting the presser foot down. Start out by poking the needle right down in there where it sews, and then go straight up into the needle clamp. If you look carefully from the front, you can see the top of the needles right there. Nice thing about this brush, you don't have to hold the needle with your fingers. You're actually holding it with the brush, so it acts like a handle for the needle. And making sure that that needle is all the way up there is very important. It's a little harder to do if you're just simply holding it with your fingers. With a brush, you know that you've got it all the way up to the stopper. Tighten the thumb screw a little bit, but keeping that the pressure on the needle, tighten it a little bit more using the screwdriver. Should always be screwdriver tight, not just finger tight. Slide that down, and you've got your machine put back together. This is all the maintenance you normally need to do. You don't need to oil this machine. It would be good idea to bring your machine in periodically, maybe every 1 or 2 years. Bring it into Montavilla, have them check it over, and oil it and lube it just like you do on your car. You make sure that it's in good shape for sewing. All right.